All right, let's now go to the big interview of the day. Shireen Bhan is in conversation with Spicejet's Ajay Singh and Boeing's Dinesh Keskar.
Hello and welcome to the CNBC TV18 special. We're talking about the big deal in the Indian aviation market, Spicejet and Boeing joining hands to increase Spicejet's fleet capacity by almost 4 times. Ajay Singh and Dinesh Keskar here with us on the CNBC TV18 special. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us, and once again, congratulations on getting this deal done. Mr. Singh, if I could start by asking you about what this means now for Spicejet, if you can also give us or help us understand, because 2018 is when we actually see the addition to your fleet capacity. What is this going to mean now eventually as far as market share is concerned and your game plan for India?
I think what this signals is, in a sense, a culmination of the revival process that we undertook in 2014, in December of 2014. As you know, the airline had nearly shut down in December 2014, we've come a long way since then. We have performed consistently well. Our load factor has been high for 21 months. We've exceeded 90%. We have been profitable in all the 7 quarters in this last 2 years. We have had the best on-time performance. We have had the lowest cancellations. We've consolidated what gains that we had achieved in the last 2 years, and now we feel that this is the time for growth. We have spent the last 1 year trying to decide which plane to grow with, and we have decided that Boeing and the MAX plane is the right plane for us. Basically, this is the largest deal for Spicejet in its history. It's also the largest deal for Boeing in India, we feel this gives us a terrific platform to grow both domestically and internationally for several years to come. What this deal also does is it helps us reduce our cost, and that was incredibly important for us. This deal means that we get lower cost aircraft, we get lower cost maintenance, we get a more reliable aircraft, we get a much more fuel efficient aircraft, an aircraft which is 20% more fuel efficient than the existing plane. We get an aircraft which has a larger range and therefore enables us to get to more destinations. We think it's a fantastic fit for Spicejet, and we are delighted to be able to do this.
Well, there are several things that you've talked about there. Let me pick up on each of those, and let me start by asking you about the cost advantage that you just spoke of. And of course, the low cost, the cost benefit on account of this being a very fuel efficient aircraft is going to be a significant one, given the fact that we are now seeing commodity prices on the uptick. But can you quantify for us what this could eventually mean as far as cost reduction is concerned, and then the implications for your margins, which have been on an upswing over the last 7 quarters?
Yes, like you said, commodity prices have been on an upswing, and we don't think they're going very far, but still we need a hedge against those commodity prices rising, and for that it's incredibly important for us to bring down our unit cost. Now the significant elements of unit cost are fuel price, the lease, the cost of the plane itself, the financing cost of the plane, and the maintenance cost. These are the big ticket items as far as cost is concerned. This order enables us to improve on each one of those 4 items. In terms of fuel, this aircraft is 20% more efficient than our existing fleet. On a per seat basis, this is more efficient, we believe, than planes which were offered to us by Boeing's competition. In terms of maintenance cost, what we have done is that along with negotiating the price of the plane, we have also negotiated maintenance contracts on a long-term basis that will help us reduce maintenance cost. Of course, Boeing has made an aggressive offer, and therefore we have been able to bring down the cost of the plane itself. And we think that we are in a great financing market. This is an eminently financeable plane, and interest rates are low across the globe, and this is a great time to go into the market to finance the plane. So if we can bring down that cost as well, I think on a sustainable basis, we've brought down significantly the cost of the unit cost of operations at Spicejet, and this is incredibly important.
So if we were to assume that fuel prices will remain where they are currently and not move significantly higher, maybe between the $55 to $60 band. I'm just trying to understand what the margin trajectory could be, because it's currently at about 7.9%. What would it imply as far as your margin?
Well, what this does is over a longer period of time, because remember that there's going to be a mix of fleet. There will be some new planes, but there will also be old planes, and then as new planes build up, I think we are looking at anything like a 15 to 17% reduction in cost. 15 to 17% reduction in cost. Has he been able to drive a very hard bargain, Mr. Keskar?
Absolutely. I think I'm going to use him as my next salesman. He told you all the right things about why he bought the plane, but that is indeed true. And I think we are delighted at Boeing because Spicejet is an important customer. We go back inception of the Spicejet. We've been with them, and the fact that they showed the confidence in Boeing, we are quite pleased. And of course, it enhances our footprint in India, which is a huge market, one of the fastest growing market in the world today.
You were talking about the India market and this deal enhancing your footprint in India. And I know you've always been very confident and optimistic about the future of Indian aviation. But given where we stand today, give me a sense of what the outlook for growth is.
Well, see, we think in the near term, the outlook for growth is about 15%. And we just did our annual forecast, as you know. And our current forecast is for the next 20 years, 1,850 airplanes for India worth $265 billion. So we continue to stay bullish on India, and we think if the infrastructure keeps in pace, we will probably outpace these numbers. So we are pretty firm that India is going to be the future, and China and India are the two big economies that are going to grow the world aviation.
But still no comparison between Chinese aviation and Indian aviation, right? Just in terms of size and numbers.
True, but listen, if we were talking this 5 years ago, I would have readily agreed with you. But now we are coming close. The gap is closing, and I think people.
What is the current gap?
I think current gap is about 3 to 1. Which is not too bad. At one time it was 10 to 1. So India is today where China was 7 years ago. So that's what the paradigm is.
Okay, so playing catch up. Singh, you talked about how you are exploring several options in order for you to be able to finance this mega deal. What seems to be the preferred route at this point in time? I mean, and what will the implications be as far as your debt is concerned? You have a debt of a little over 1,000 crore rupees today. What could this imply for debt?
Well, as you know, Spicejet today is a near zero debt company. The 1,000 crores that you talk about is the debt which is backed by assets. These are the Q400s which are on our balance sheet. Now, in terms of financing, of course, one of the avenues we will look at is a sale and lease back of planes. Going forward, we will also look at financing some of these planes and putting them on our books, backed by EXIM guarantees and other such mechanisms. For us, it's important at this time, while there is no paucity of funding available, we need to see what works the best for us in terms of lowering the cost
I would imagine sale and lease back would be the most preferred.
That is, at this time, appears to be the more preferred option, because obviously one of the advantages of that is that it ensures that there is no dilution of equity, there is no increase in debt of the company. This is a great market to be doing this, and we are hoping that even in those situations, we bring down the effective cost of lease. Because right from where we started this journey in December 2014, our attempt has been to bring down the average cost of lease of planes, and this deal will, I'm confident that this deal will enable us to get that cost down even further.
How much could you expect further reduction?
I don't want to put numbers on it, but it's looking very good. I mean, we've already started to get offers on this, and it's looking a lot better than it was even a year ago.
Okay. You talked about what this will mean then as far as your international aspirations and your international expansion plans are concerned. How soon can we realistically expect those to fructify?
Well, as you know, today Spicejet already has 25% of its capacity on international. We continue to look at international and how to expand international. We are looking at routes in a holistic sense and saying, look, is this route going to make more money for us, or is this other route going to make more money for us? We are not so fussy about whether that's a domestic route or an international route. What this aircraft does for us, however, is that it increases the range. that we can fly. If an NG could fly up to 4 hours, this aircraft can fly 5 hours. So that expands the footprint and therefore enables us to go to some international destinations that we could not have gone with our existing fleet. So we will evaluate those opportunities as the aircraft start to come in.
But, you know, say over the next 3 to 5 years, what kind of mix do you expect between domestic and international operations in terms of revenue?
It depends on what turns out to be more profitable. You know, you know, my expectation is that several of the domestic routes will do incredibly well, especially tier 2, tier 3, the smaller towns connected to larger towns, or even the small towns connected to other small towns. And some of the international sectors which are doing well today will continue to do well, and we will discover yet undiscovered markets, which will be extremely relevant.
But would it be fair to say that maybe over the next few years the focus will continue to be largely on India, given the fact that this is in that sense the high growth market?
Well, India is a high growth market, but India is also an extremely competitive market. And again, you know, our focus has really been largely into tier 2 and tier 3. Of course, tier 1 to tier 1 is really saturated at this point of time. There are also infrastructural constraints. So we will see, but you know, our intention is to increase our international share over time.
Okay. Mr. Keskar, you talked about the catch-up that we're seeing between India and China. You talked about the infrastructure deficit, which has always come in the way of India playing catch-up. But as we look at the regulatory environment in India, we've got a new civil aviation policy. Mr. Singh was talking about regional connectivity. You know, how do you read the landscape and its evolution?
I think India is trying to grow faster than they're doing it right now. One of the way to do that is how do you open up new airports, how do you connect more people, how do you find more cities, okay? And as Ajay just said, tier 1 to tier 1 is saturated, so you got to go to the smaller towns. We have many airports in India that can be developed, which Airport Authority of India is looking at. And I think the way we look at it, Boeing, is once you build these connections to smaller cities, they're going to feed the bigger airplane like these. And that's how India is going to grow further. And if that infrastructure can be kept up in pace, I think all our projections that I just gave you are going to be thrown out of the window because it will be much faster than that.
You know, speaking of the importance of India from a Make in India perspective, and given the kind of aspirations that you have to do business in India, what can we realistically now expect going forward?
Well, you know, Shireen, we've been doing this since 1991. So Make in India concept
is not new for you. Yes.
I won't say it was not new to you. It has a new impetus. It has a new champion. And it has now a focus, which wasn't there before. In the past, you did the deal, you have so much offset to do, and you would follow that, okay? Now there is enhancement on top of it. There are skill development and other things that India is trying to do, and I think we're taking part in that, and that's what you're going to see. Plus our military business has opened up, and that's going to help us to do even more. So I think overall we are going to contribute significantly to Make in India.
But speaking of Make in India, you know, and part of the new defense procurement norms, one of course is this business of design, develop and make in India. And there have been tweaks to the offset obligations as well. So do you believe that the regulatory environment is sort of something that you can benefit from more than you could perhaps earlier?
Look, we are poised to explore that, okay? And I think, like I said, I'm mostly focused on commercial side of the market. But obviously I know what's going on my other side of the company, and I think we will see some enhancement in that side also. Okay,
let me talk to you about you know, the near-term events on the economic calendar, and we've got the budget coming up now on the 1st of February. What would your expectation be? Every year we talk about, at least as far as ATF is concerned, some relief. I remember you were with us a day after the last budget presentation, and you took on the Revenue Secretary on why the government hadn't done anything about ATF. Are you holding your breath at all this year?
You know, we have made some of the similar points that we made before, but I think the larger point is that aviation helps growth both for the states and the country, and we have been saying that, look, you must bring down the cost of aviation if you want people to fly more, and it's not right that India should be the fastest growing aviation market in the world, but we should have the highest cost aviation turbine fuel in the world. We should have the highest cost airports in the world. And if we are ever to develop our own hub airports like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and if we are ever to create global airlines in India, we need to bring down the cost of aviation, and that can be done in a variety of ways. GST is coming up soon. We would love for them to say that, look, ATF, just as credits, taxes paid on ATF are allowed by way of set-offs in tax. If India could allow that, and this is a global practice, so we should be allowed to do the same thing. In terms of airports, we need to bring down, we need to rethink this whole model of OMDA that we have. We need to bring down the cost of those airports. We need to bring down the cost of the turnarounds so that more and more people can fly into India and out of India. So we need to be globally competitive if we are to compete globally.
But speaking of this, dream that the government has put forward by way of regional connectivity, and you've been fairly confident of being able to capitalize on that. What will it really mean over the next few years? How realistic is this dream of regional air connectivity?
I think it's absolutely imperative that we connect airports in small towns. Today we have 400 airports in the country, 80 of which are operational and are connected. There are another 30 airports which are completely operational and ready and have not a single flight. So we need to look at all these airports, get them into the mainstream, and like Dinesh was saying, a lot of the traffic from these small airports will go and feed large planes like the ones that we have ordered now. So it is absolutely imperative that we connect small towns. Now, the regional connectivity scheme is something that we have welcomed. It needs some tweaks. We are talking to the government on how to make it even more efficient. But this is something that the country must do.
You talked about on-time performance, and there is currently a fairly public spat that is on the issue of on-time performance. How do you see that playing out for you?
Well, we don't understand why there is a spat. This is the same set of data that has been used for more than 10 years. And it is the same set of data that has been used by some airlines to talk about their great on-time performance. Now, by the same set of data, if some other airline, in this case Spicejet, has the best performance, and this is all government data, mind you, I don't see why there should be an objection. But if DGCA wants to take a look at how this is done, we are very happy for them to do it. From our perspective, what is happening is great for the consumers. Let everybody fight to improve on-time performance. Let everybody fight for that #1 spot. Absolutely fantastic for the consumers. As far as Spicejet is concerned, we had committed that we will improve operating performance, and for 6 months in a row we've been #1 in on-time performance. We've had the lowest cancellations of any airline in the country, and we are very delighted that we have been able to achieve what we have done.
Well, it is good. Competition is always good news for the consumer. But Mr. Keskar, let me ask you about the risks that you see for this market. We've talked about everything that's good, but what you believe are the risks? I remember, several years ago, our last conversation that we had, you were talking about, in aviation markets that were developing, capacity or overcapacity could have been perhaps a risk. Is that a concern here?
I don't see overcapacity as a problem right now. But the two things I watch carefully is the fuel price, which we already talked about. But other factor which is really important.
What's your own assessment on where you see fuel prices?
I think it's going to be range bound, like you said. Okay, we think 60 will be the tops for the time being. But the other factor which is important that most people forget is the devaluation of rupee. Because our fuel price is based on multiplier of the fuel price times the devaluated. So if it's 68 now, it was 58 just a year ago, and so if that number keeps going up, it's going to have some dent on the demand requirement because people will feel better to go by train or something like that. But I think the risks are limited, and I think infrastructure will be another key risk to watch for.
Yeah, well, you're sitting with your most aggressive client here, but who else are you talking to in the Indian market, and can we expect any further announcements from you anytime soon?
Well, we have 3 customers in the Indian market. We cherish them. Of course, Spicejet is the talk of the day today, but we have Air India also, and Jet Airways, and I think they'll continue to build on it because the growth rate in India is over 20%. Nobody can sit still. They got to buy.
Do you believe there's room for another greenfield airline, perhaps, in India?
I don't know about that. To us, it is numbers of aircraft that matter. Whether it's one airline running all of those or 10 airlines, it's not that important. But the new entrants, I haven't seen them do very well. So we'll have to wait and watch.
Mr. Singh, let me ask you about the environment in the short term, specifically when it comes to pricing, etc. Because we've again seen a price for onsu in the Indian market. What would the projections really be as far as price is concerned?
Well, we always hope that we can bring up yield and that prices will be same. For the last 1 year, of course, all the airlines have been making money. Spicejet has been making a little more money on the operating side than some of the others. It's difficult to control. So we will see what happens. I think the solution really is to look at markets which are less saturated and to look at products like ancillary revenue. We've already
What has been the growth in ancillary revenue?
Well, we started at around 5% when we started in December 2014. That number has gone up to 16% now. And we are hoping that with the initiatives that we are taking, we can take up that number further. So we will focus on that. We will focus on, dynamically rejigging our network to make sure that that we fly the most profitable routes, and we will look to see that we don't go into completely saturated markets. So we have to look at a bunch of those issues as well as keep trying to knock down our unit cost.
So let me end then by asking both of you, and let me start by asking you, what would the aspiration be maybe next 3 years for you, in terms of margins, in terms of revenues, and in terms of profitability?
Well, I don't want to give guidance, but I think we've done well in the last 2 years. We've nearly doubled our capacity. We've had higher profits than we ever have in our history. And we hope that in the next 3 years we can grow responsibly and profitably. That's it. That's all I want to do.
Mr. Keskar?
Well, I hope the fuel price stays below 70, since you're talking about a 3-year horizon. The exchange rate is balanced. And I think the capacity Indian market can absorb, so I'm not worried about overcapacity anymore. So let's wish for the best.
Let's hope for the best, Mr. Singh and Mr. Keskar. Thank you very much. Once again, congratulations to the both of you. And thank you very much for joining us here on CNBC TV18.
Thank you so much.
Well, with that, it is time for us to wrap up this CNBC TV18 special from all of us here. Goodbye. Many thanks for watching.